Hey everyone, welcome back to Geet Builds. I am Geet. As you can see from the title, today's video is a bit different from the usual stuff I do, in that it's a tutorial. So actually, it's probably more appropriate to say, welcome to Geet Tutorials. I am still Geet. So every time I post a picture of a house that isn't a 90-degree angle, I have a couple people ask me if I will make a tutorial for diagonal builds. And I've been saying yes for long enough that if I wait any longer I'd be lying. So right now, you can see that I'm just building some houses that are on diagonals. But it's important to talk first about what a diagonal building even means. So there's a bunch of different layouts that can be considered diagonal, actually probably an infinite amount since anything that isn't a straight line is one. But they can all basically be created using the same basic design. You choose how many blocks you want to be a one section of the diagonal and then keep doing that same amount for as long as you like. So here I'm showing what a two-step diagonal house looks like from above when you're first building the outline. You can do this with 3, 4, 5, as many blocks as you like. The more blocks you use, the less extreme of the degree of your angle. The most extreme, of course, is just a one step where you move one block over every time. Now, one of the problems with diagonals is that making roofs on them can be incredibly challenging, especially on step patterns between 2 and 4, because it's hard to make the front of a building look connected. So on a lot of my buildings, I will include a straight line across them like I'm doing here. These kind of diagonal houses are way easier to make roofs on and look way better in my opinion. So if you've ever tried to build on a diagonal, you'll probably already know that the hardest part is trying to make a roof that even connects correctly, let alone looks good. So here I'm using dyed wool to show the path from where one side of the building connects to the other. Whatever the number of steps is for your diagonal, that is how many across you should go before moving the line of your roof. Basically, you're treating the line of the roof as you would the line of the wall, and carrying that same diagonal all the way across the building. As you can see, there will be a hole left in between where your lines move back, but this is totally okay. You can use this to add unique aspects to your building's roof, and it's weird indentations like this that make diagonal buildings naturally more detailed than straight line buildings. But as you'll see later, this process isn't something I usually have to worry about on my diagonal buildings, because I'll do the straight wall across on two ends of the building to make the roof look better. The only time you'll need to use this roof technique is if you're going for a 100% diagonal build with the same diagonal step pattern on all 4 sides. So here's a couple of the roof patterns that you can do. One option on a 1-step degree diagonal is to use stairs all the way across, all connecting to each other. The result is a pretty low sloped roof with a lot of depth and texture, but it's a bit too uniform and repetitive for me to use for an entire roof, and is usually something that I'll only do on a small house or a section that's going off from one side of a building. Another option on a 1-step is to go all the way across the diagonal with full blocks, with a stair on the edges facing towards the inside of the building, and a slab on top of the empty space in between the full blocks. I actually use this pattern on a lot of my buildings because it's easy to add some variety to, and it just naturally looks pretty good as is. The next roof is going to be for diagonal builds with 2 straight sides. Use full blocks starting on the outside of each edge of the wall, and move one up until the 2 sides meet in the middle. Make sure that every edge of the roof is just outside of the wall. I like to make the edges of the roof and the last line of each segment the same block palette, just to add some variation to the color of the building and to break up the monotony of the color scheme. Because you're basically just creating a regular straight line roof pattern and moving it to one side for each step, you can do a lot of different designs with this. I've done vaulted ceilings and other more complex designs, but I think those are too complicated for this video. I basically just want to show in this tutorial the basics of how to build using diagonals and the ways that the roofs are supposed to connect, which you can then take and create builds of whatever pattern and shape you'd like. So once you've made the roof, you have to connect it to your wall. There's a couple of ways to do this. One way is to build on the wall all the way up to where it meets the roof. Depending on how many steps there are on the edge of your building, this can create a lot of different wall segments. Another option is to build from one side of the roof all the way to the middle of the building, and then do the same from the other side. This will instead create 2 wall segments, which in my opinion can be easier to work with when it comes to adding details later, but this is entirely up to you, and I'll be showing an example of both detailed later. So far, we've gone through the basics of building diagonal buildings, like the different layouts and roof designs, but everything has been pretty basic and boring so far. So for the next couple minutes, I'm going to detail some of the basic buildings I've created and talk about the different things I typically use when making diagonal buildings. I really like to use the end blocks of wall segments as either support beams like I showed on the front of the house or as windows. Replacing the blocks with glass can make for a cool and unique window that has more depth than you can get using a straight line building. You can place trapdoors to the side to look like shutters, or you can even put them directly over the glass to make it look like the shutters are closed. Doors, fences, and trapdoors above and below the glass can look like windowsills, and in the middle of wall segments, you can do the kind of detailing you would usually do on a straight line building, like using gates and trapdoors to cover glass pane and look like shuttered recessed windows. Another unique thing I like to do is to use two doors on the edge of a wall segment to make a corner door. On the side of the house, I'm doing a couple of different things that don't actually go well together, but I just wanted to show off some of the different ways you can use wall segment edges to add detail besides making glass windows with them. Stairs and signs can make for cool glassless braced windows, which I use if I'm making buildings in a more rundown area of a city or village. Fences can do a similar thing, which look good in barn-style buildings. You can also see that on the top of the building, I use fences and gates that run down the top of the roof to kind of cap the whole house. And none of these buildings are all that impressive, since they sort of have the same overall structure and don't have much going on with them other than being long and sort of crooked. But you can definitely scale up buildings like this, and have certain sections be wider and larger to make more of a layered house look. I just figured that if you can master the things I'm showing in this tutorial, there's a really good chance you can apply what you've learned and experiment on other grander designs. Like I know when I was just starting to do diagonal buildings, they were a complete mess, and doing a roof would take an hour or more and leave me sweating in angry gamer rage. But hopefully you'll be able to avoid that by applying the Geet Build's diagonal techniques. And when it comes to the details I'm doing on these houses, they're totally up to personal preference. I usually lean a bit heavier on the detailing side, and like to include a lot of stuff on my buildings, which can really turn some people off, especially on diagonals where the slope of the building is already creating a lot of depth. But I just can't stop until every square block is covered, and you can barely tell what you're even looking at. But one of my favorite designs is this little doorway I'm working on right now, which is only a couple of stairs and trapdoors, but it makes it feel way more like an actual entrance, which is one of the pluses about leaving the sides of the house flat, so you can do a bit more regular detailing that doesn't have to worry about fitting into diagonal shapes. And you can see here what I mean, because on a one-step house, you're always sort of left with a doorway that's going to look a little bit funny. I do like the uniqueness that you can get out of a completely diagonal build, but there is a sense of relief when you have a nice bit of normal straight edge to put a door into. And here again are some window designs that you can only do on a diagonal building because they use the edges of both sides of a block to make a window. I really like the way signs look when used on slabs like this to make openings. And here's a small example of how you can expand a building away from the usual four-sided shape. It usually looks best to continue any extra building on the exact same diagonal as the rest of the house. You can do different angles, but they can get a bit complex and stop looking as natural to me. I would say the one exception is including a regular straight 90-degree angle, since it's already easy enough to build on that you can attach it to the rest of a building pretty easily. So here we have the three basically finished diagonal buildings. There's a couple things that I haven't gone over in this tutorial, like how to build in different styles other than the wooden cottage. In the future, I might do an update to this tutorial that doesn't go over the basics and instead goes over things like medieval, stone-based, half timber, brick, things like that. But for now, I think this does a pretty good job of being an entry into diagonal building. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments, and I'll try my best to answer them. For the rest of the video, I'm going to do some final detailing like chimneys and leaves, and talk about some updates, and of course, the subscriber giveaway. So this week's subscriber giveaway winner is Mats Van Gestel. I should be releasing that video tomorrow, and if you haven't won yet, don't worry, I keep everyone in the giveaway until they've won. As always, the giveaway is for a 1K1K custom map made in World Painter that's completely exclusive, unlike all the other maps I make time lapses of and upload to Planet Minecraft for download. So just comment down below if you'd like to be entered and how I can best reach out to you. And now for the final part of this video, where I talk about some sad news that's sad. So I'm going to call this segment, Welcome Back to Geet's Sad. I am unfortunately Geet. So, I was moving map files onto my new computer, and ended up deleting about 8 hours worth of building on my new Winter Village map. Which sucked, but I thought I might be okay, because I could at least still use the footage to upload for a part 2 of that series. But apparently, if you get rid of the map that the footage is taken from on Replay Mod, you also corrupt the video. So that's all gone too. It's pretty disappointing to me, because I had done a lot of great building on that, and was really excited to finish up that map, but just don't know if I want to go back in and spend another 8 hours rebuilding stuff I've already made. So for now, the next building video I upload is going to be for Woodhurst, where I finally started building again, and I've already added a couple of pretty unique buildings to that. So I think that section is going to turn out pretty nice, and I think I'll actually go over and look at the theater in that video as well, because I don't want to make a whole video about me building it, because a lot of the footage is just me inside adding like chairs and stairs and stuff, and it's really boring. But I think it would be a cool part of the video to go through it pretty quickly and show off what I ended up building. So that's basically all of the news for me today. Sorry that it's been almost a week since my last upload. I'll try to make up for it with another time-lapse video pretty soon. And let me know if you have any other ideas for videos that you'd like to see me make, because I wouldn't have thought to even make a tutorial like this if everyone hadn't brought it up. And if you've got an Instagram and 15 spare seconds and just can't get enough of that sweet Geet Builds content, go follow me on Instagram. In the past week, I've gained about 200 followers, and I try to post once a day with some cool thing I've built or a new map I've created in World Painter. The link for that will be down below, as well as the link to my Planet Minecraft and Reddit page. So let me know if you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.